English with confidence.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Personal Growth Talks podcast. I'm your host, Henry, and today we have a very interesting topic for you. But first, I'm happy to say that my co-host Sarah is here with me. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, Henry. I'm doing really well, thank you. I'm excited for today's episode because it's something that I think all of us can relate to.
Yes, absolutely. So, let me ask you, and also our listeners, a quick question. Have you ever thought about what life would be like if you spent an entire day without your phone?
Oh, wow. That sounds scary and also kind of exciting at the same time. I mean, most of us use our phones all the time for messages, social media, work, even to wake up in the morning.
Exactly. Our phones are always with us. We check them when we wake up, when we eat, when we work, and even before we go to sleep. It feels almost impossible to imagine a day without them.
But today, Henry is going to share his story about trying exactly that, a whole day without his phone. And we're going to talk about what happened, what was difficult, and also what he learned from the experience.
Yes, and we'll also think about how this connects to personal growth, and maybe even how it can help us improve our English learning. So, stay with us. This is going to be a fun and thought-provoking conversation. So, Sarah, before I share my no phone day story, I think we should first talk about why phones are so addictive. Because honestly, it's not just a tool. It's something we almost can't live without.
Yes, I agree. Phones are designed to grab our attention. Think about social media, for example. You open it for just 1 minute, but then 30 minutes go by without even noticing.
Exactly. And it's not only social media. There are notifications, those little sounds and vibrations. Every time your phone makes a sound, your brain feels curious. Who sent me a message? What's happening?
That's right. Scientists even say that when we get a notification, our brain releases dopamine, a chemical that makes us feel good, like a small reward. So, in a way, we are training our brains to check the phone again and again.
Yes, and sometimes we don't even need a notification. We just unlock the phone, scroll, and keep looking. Many people check their phones hundreds of times a day without even realizing it.
And it's not only about fun, right? Phones also make us feel connected. If we're bored, we pick up the phone. If we're lonely, we text someone. If we're lost, we use maps. Our phones give us quick answers to almost everything.
Exactly. That's why they feel so necessary. But at the same time, when we depend on them too much, it can become unhealthy. Sometimes we forget how to just sit quietly, or how to enjoy a moment without taking a photo or checking messages.
That's a really good point, Henry. Phones are powerful, but they can also control us if we're not careful, which is why I'm really curious to hear what happened when you tried to live without your phone for one day.
Yes, it was definitely a challenge. Let me tell you how it all started, why I decided to put my phone away and try this experiment. So, Sarah, one morning I woke up and thought to myself, what if I just didn't use my phone today? At first, it sounded almost impossible, but then I decided to take it as a personal challenge.
Wow, Henry, that's brave. I don't think many people would even dare to try that. What made you decide to do it?
Well, I realized that I was spending too much time on my phone, scrolling through social media, checking emails every 5 minutes, and always waiting for new notifications. It was stressful. I wanted to see what life would feel like without that constant connection.
That makes sense. Sometimes we don't notice how much time we spend on our phones until we step back. So, how did you prepare for this no phone day?
Good question. I told a few close friends and family members that I wouldn't be reachable for one day, just so they wouldn't worry. I also wrote down the things I normally use my phone for, like checking the time, setting an alarm, or even looking at directions. Then I tried to find other ways to manage those things.
That's smart. So basically, you had to plan ahead like life before smartphones existed.
Exactly. It felt almost old-fashioned, but in a good way. I wanted to see if I could really do it. Just live one day fully in the moment, without that little screen in my hand.
I love that idea. Okay, now I'm curious. What was your morning like without your phone? Did you feel free or just lost?
A little bit of both, actually. Let me tell you what happened in the morning. That was the first big test. So, Sarah, the first big test came in the morning. Normally, my phone is my alarm clock, but this time I had to use a simple, old-fashioned alarm clock.
Oh, that's interesting. So you didn't wake up by checking your phone? Usually the first thing people do after stopping the alarm is look at messages or scroll on social media.
Exactly. That's my usual habit, too. Normally, I wake up, stop the alarm, and then I just stay in bed for 15 or 20 minutes, scrolling through news or emails. But on this day, when I woke up, there was no phone to grab.
That must have felt so strange at first. What did you do instead?
Well, I actually just got out of bed right away. Laughs. I didn't have an excuse to stay lying there. So I went to the kitchen, made myself some tea, and just sat quietly for a few minutes.
That sounds peaceful, but didn't you feel like something was missing?
Yes, absolutely. At first, my hands almost reached for the phone. It was like a habit. I wanted to check the time or see what messages I had. But then I remembered. No phone today. So instead, I looked out the window, listened to the birds, and just enjoyed the quiet.
Wow, that sounds like a very different kind of morning. Normally, we're so busy looking at screens that we don't notice the little things, like the weather outside or the sounds around us.
Exactly. Another thing I noticed, breakfast was different. Usually, when I eat breakfast, I watch YouTube or read the news on my phone. But that day, I just ate my food slowly. I actually tasted it more because I wasn't distracted.
That's so true. Eating with a phone often makes us eat too fast or not even enjoy our food. So, how did you feel after that calm morning?
Honestly, it felt unusual, but also refreshing. I wasn't rushing to read messages or news. My mind felt a little clearer, but at the same time, I also felt a little bit disconnected. Like, what's happening in the world? Am I missing something important?
Yes, that's the hard part. We always feel like we might miss out on something if we're not online, but maybe the world can wait while we enjoy a peaceful morning.
Exactly. That was my first big lesson. Without a phone, mornings can actually feel slower and more peaceful.
I love that. Okay, Henry, now I really want to know, what about the rest of your day? Work, travel, talking to people. How did you manage all of that without a phone?
Ah, that part was even more challenging. Let me tell you about how daily life went without my phone. So after my peaceful morning, it was time to start my day. And Sarah, this was the real challenge, because normally my phone helps me with almost everything.
Right, like checking emails, maps, music, or even just staying in touch. So, what did you do first?
Well, usually I check my phone for my to-do list and calendar. But that day, I wrote everything down on paper the night before. It felt strange at first, but also kind of nice. I had this little notebook instead of a screen.
That's a great idea. But what about getting around? Did you have to go anywhere?
Yes, I had a meeting across town. Normally, I'd use Google Maps to check the best route. But that day, no maps. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I asked someone for directions.
Oh, wow, that must have felt so unusual. How did people react?
Most people were friendly, actually. One person even walked with me for a little while to show me the way. It reminded me that asking for help face to face can be a positive experience.
That's so true. Phones make things easy, but sometimes they stop us from connecting with real people.
Exactly. But it wasn't always easy. For example, during the meeting, I couldn't check quick facts or emails. I had to just focus on the conversation and take handwritten notes. At first, I felt a bit unprepared, but then I realized I was actually listening more carefully.
Interesting. So instead of multitasking on your phone, you were giving your full attention.
Yes, and it made the meeting feel more meaningful. But I'll be honest, there were some frustrating moments too. For example, when I wanted to check the time, I kept looking at my empty pocket. I realized I didn't even own a watch anymore. Laughs.
That's so relatable. Most people don't wear watches now because phones do everything. Did you feel stressed without knowing the exact time?
A little bit? Yes. I had to rely on clocks in public places, or just estimate. It made me realize how dependent I've become on that small device.
So overall, how was the middle of your day? Was it more difficult or more freeing?
Both. It was difficult because I couldn't just look things up instantly or send a quick message. But it was freeing because I wasn't constantly interrupted by notifications. I had long, focused stretches of time to just work, think, or even walk quietly.
That's actually beautiful. Phones give us connection, but they also take away our quiet moments.
Exactly. By the afternoon, I started to notice that my brain felt calmer. I wasn't jumping from one app to another. Instead, I was just living the day as it happened.
I love that. But Henry, I'm curious. How did this whole experience make you feel emotionally? Was it relaxing, stressful, or maybe a mix of both?
Good question. It was definitely a mix. Let me share how it felt emotionally, because that was one of the biggest surprises. So, Sarah, the biggest surprise for me was how emotional the experience was. At first, I felt a little bit lost, almost nervous. You know that feeling when you reach for your pocket and your phone isn't there? It's like something is missing.
Yes, I know that feeling. It's like we're missing a part of ourselves. Did you feel stressed at the beginning?
Yes, a little stressed. I kept wondering, what if someone needs me? What if I miss an important email? What if something happens and I can't check the news? My mind kept imagining problems.
That's really interesting. We often say that phones reduce stress because they keep us connected, but at the same time, they create stress because we feel we must always be available.
Exactly. But here's the interesting part. After a few hours, the stress slowly disappeared. I realized the world was still moving, even without me checking it every 5 minutes. And then I started to feel something different. Freedom.
Freedom? Tell me more about that.
Well, I felt lighter. I didn't have to answer messages immediately. I didn't have to keep up with everything happening online. I could just focus on where I was and what I was doing. It felt like taking a deep breath after a long time.
That sounds wonderful. Sometimes we don't notice how heavy the constant flow of information can be. Without it, our minds can finally rest.
Yes, exactly. Of course, there were moments of boredom too. Normally, if I'm waiting in line or sitting on a bus, I would scroll through my phone. But without it, I just had to sit quietly. At first it felt boring, but then I noticed small things. The people around me, the sounds, even my own thoughts.
I like that. Boredom isn't always bad. Sometimes boredom gives us space to think, to be creative, or just to relax.
That's so true. So overall, emotionally, it was a mix. Stress in the beginning, but then, slowly, freedom, calm, and even creativity.
That's a powerful lesson. Now I really want to know, after living one full day without your phone, what did you learn? What are the main lessons you took from this challenge?
Yes, I learned a lot about myself and my habits. Let me share the biggest lessons I discovered. So, Sarah, after spending one full day without my phone, I realized I had learned some really important lessons.
I'm curious, what was the first big lesson?
The first lesson was about awareness. I noticed how automatic my phone habits were. For example, every time I felt a little bored, my hand reached for my pocket, even when the phone wasn't there. That showed me just how much I rely on it without thinking.
Yes, that's so true. Many of us don't even realize how often we pick up our phones. It's almost like a reflex.
Exactly. The second lesson was about focus. Without constant notifications, I could really concentrate on one thing at a time. Whether it was writing notes, reading a book, or having a conversation, I was fully present.
That's a beautiful lesson. Phones can make us feel busy, but sometimes they take away our deep focus.
Yes. And the third lesson was about real connection. When I asked someone for directions or talked to people face to face, it felt more personal and meaningful. I remembered that communication doesn't always need a screen.
I love that. It's like going back to the basics, talking, listening, paying attention to people around us.
Exactly. And finally, the biggest lesson for me was about balance. I don't think phones are bad. They're useful, powerful tools, but I learned that if I'm not careful, the phone controls me instead of me controlling it.
That's such a good point. It's not about throwing our phones away. It's about finding a healthy balance, using the phone when it really helps us, but also giving ourselves phone-free time to grow, think, and enjoy life.
Yes, exactly. That's what personal growth is about. Not rejecting technology, but learning how to live with it in a smarter way.
I think our listeners can learn a lot from that, and maybe they can try something similar, even if it's just for a short time.
Yes, definitely. Which brings us to the next part. Some practical tips for our listeners if they want to try a phone-free challenge themselves. So, Sarah, I don't expect everyone to suddenly spend a whole day without their phone. That can feel scary. But I think listeners can start with small steps.
Yes, I agree. Even small changes can make a big difference. So, what's the first tip you would suggest?
Tip number 1. Try a phone-free morning. When you wake up, don't touch your phone for the first hour. Instead, eat breakfast, read a book, or just enjoy some quiet time. It sets a calmer mood for the whole day.
That's a great one. My tip would be set no phone zones. For example, no phones at the dinner table or when you're studying English. That way, you can give your full attention to food, family, or learning.
Love that. Another simple idea is use real conversations. Instead of texting a friend all the time, call them or meet face to face. It feels more personal and helps with speaking and listening skills, especially for English learners.
That's so true. And here's one more. Create screen-free hours. Maybe 1 hour before bed, put your phone away. This can help you sleep better and reduce stress.
Yes, and remember, it's not about throwing away your phone, it's about using it wisely. Small phone-free moments can make life calmer, happier, and even better for learning.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe one day our listeners will feel ready to try a full no phone day challenge, just like you did, Henry.
Yes, and I promise, it's an experience worth trying. So, Sarah, after going through this challenge, I think the main lesson is clear. We don't need to be connected every second of the day to live a good life.
Yes, exactly. Phones are useful, but they shouldn't control us. Taking breaks from them gives us time to think, to focus, and to connect with real people.
And even for English learners, this is important. When you put the phone down, you can listen more carefully, speak more naturally, and practice real conversations. That's something no app can replace.
I love that point. So here are the key takeaways. Be aware of your phone habits. Try small, phone-free times, like mornings or before bed. Focus on balance. Use your phone, but don't let it use you.
Exactly. And remember, personal growth doesn't happen in big dramatic changes. It happens in small daily choices. A little less screen time can mean a little more peace, focus, and happiness.
Beautifully said. So listeners, maybe try your own phone-free challenge. Even just 1 hour can make a big difference.
Yes, and you might be surprised by how much freedom and calm you discover. Well, Sarah, that's all for today's episode of Personal Growth Talks podcast. I hope our conversation about spending a day without a phone gave our listeners some ideas to try in their own lives.
Yes, thank you all for listening. Remember, small changes can lead to big growth. Try a phone-free morning, focus on real conversations, and enjoy the quiet moments.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you won't miss future episodes, and share it with your friends who might enjoy personal growth tips too.
And if you try a phone-free challenge, we'd love to hear about your experience.
Thank you again for joining us. Stay mindful, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.